All right, here we go. Imagine this. You wake up. Not in your cozy bed, not in your usual surroundings, but at the bottom of the ocean 7 miles below the surface. There's no air. It's freezing cold, and there's no light, just an abyss so dark that it's almost tangible. And to make matters even worse, you're not alone. But the only thing you've got to keep you company is a dying flashlight and an existential crisis the size of the Pacific Ocean itself. So, what do? Do you scream into the darkness and hope anyone hears you? Or do you break down and start questioning every single life choice you've ever made that led you to this point? Well, folks, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Let's figure out what would actually happen if you were trapped down here, alone, in total darkness, with only a flashlight and a rapidly growing realization that life is absurd. Hey, I'm Nimblo, and today we're going to figure out what happens if you live at the bottom of the ocean with only a flashlight and a mental breakdown to keep you company. This won't be pretty, but it will be entertaining. So let's dive in. First things first, let's talk about your new home. You're in the Mariana Trench, also known as the deepest part of the ocean, a place so far down that light doesn't even bother trying to get here. We're talking 7 miles deep, over 36,000 feet. If you dropped Mount Everest into this place, it would still be over a mile underwater. So let's just acknowledge that right off the bat, you've made some questionable life choices to end up here. Let's start with the pressure. You're facing about 16,000 psi. That's 16,000 pounds per square inch pressing down on you from all sides. To put that into perspective, imagine 100 jumbo jets sitting on your chest at the same time. And you're not getting out of this alive unless you've somehow developed superhuman resistance to pressure, or if you have a magical, indestructible diving suit. But let's say, for the sake of this scenario, that you've managed to survive the pressure for a while. Congratulations! Now, let's move on to the cold. The water's temperature down here is around 1 to 4 degrees. See, that's just above freezing. So now, you're not only crushed by pressure, you're also turning into an ice cube. This is basically the world's most aggressive version of a cold shower. And don't think for a second that you'll get some comfort from light. There's no sunlight down here. It's pitch black. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face even if you tried. You know that moment when you lie awake at 2 a.m., thinking about every mistake you've ever made? Yeah! Great! Now, let's talk about your flashlight. This is your one tool for survival, and let's be real, it's a piece of junk. It's probably a generic Walmart flashlight. Right now, it's the only thing keeping you sane. You know what happens next. The flashlight starts flickering. First you think, okay, I can make it through this. It's just a little glitch, no big deal. But slowly you start to realize the horrifying truth: your flashlight is dying, and with it, your last shred of hope. You start to shake it, like you shake your phone when the Wi-Fi is acting up. Okay, let's break up the despair for a minute and talk about your neighbors. Now, you're not completely alone down here. There are creatures. But, spoiler alert, they're not your friends. And they're way more adapted to this environment than you'll ever be. First up, anglerfish. Yeah! These things are just like that one person at the party who shows up to haunt your soul. The anglerfish has a glowing lure on its head, and it looks like a nightlight from hell. It's designed to trap you, lure you closer, and then, well, eat your soul. The teeth on this thing are basically sharp knives, and you can feel it staring at you with that cold, uncaring gaze. You might try to talk to it. Guess what? It won't talk back. Giant isopods are up next. They're basically cockroaches that grew to nightmare proportions. Except these aren't crawling in your kitchen, they've been living down here for millions of years. And finally, we have the Dumbo Octopusher emotional support animal. This thing looks adorable, and you think, finally, something to talk to. But really? Probably just as lonely as you are. But you'd also lose your mind. You'd question everything about life, make friends with shrimp, and reflect on how fleeting existence really is. And somewhere in the depths of that breakdown, you might come to terms with it.